I know how tough it is for ministers of whatever denomination you're talking about to try to pull together a consensus in a church. It's not easy. So one of the recommendations I'd like to make to our local ministers in the area and for nationwide, there's really been, in my view, an absence of real rebuttal of Christian nationalism from strong Christian perspective. It's been missing. You have a few who stand out, but not many. And Jim Wallace was one of them who stood out in the video, and he's spoken against it. Sojourner's Truth has been speaking out against it. And even Christianity Today has been fighting against this whole issue of Christian nationalism. But part of the issue, too, is because, as I mentioned at the luncheon today, there's a couple adjectives that go along with Christian nationalism. It's white evangelical Christian nationalism, and that's another challenge. But what I'd like to recommend for our group is to build a coalition, like we have one minister here who's been around for a number of years. He's been in Charlotte forever, preceding me. But I think we need a coalition of churches and ministers building a discussion on this particular area. A lot of us in the group, even at lunch today, said they didn't even know what Christian nationalism was all about. So they're not afraid or not worried. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm worried. I'm a junkie with MSNBC and CNN. I've read White Too Long, which we should all read. I read The End of White Christian America, which we should all read. Kingdom Coming, which we should all read, by Michelle Goldberg, who also tells us about the institution of the Joshua generation, which we should all be worried about, and homeschooling. And this whole idea has been going on. We've got a lot to be worried about here, and we need to educate our community. Our ministers need to be educated, excuse me, Bill, but I know you're educated. But we need to educate them on what white Christian nationalism is all about. And then we need to get back to business of starting to dialogue and discuss in coalition. 4, 5, 6 churches in the area should be pulling together their resources, because this is a very fragile democracy, and my Christianity is very fragile, and it's being taken away. Now, the 20% that you talk about, some say it's even larger than that, and I'm worried that it is larger, that many people are even afraid to join in and say that they agree with that. So I think the problem is much greater than we realize. So I thank you for what you say. I hope we can figure out ways to build a stronger coalition among our ministers. Listen, nobody wants to pack their suitcase and say goodbye in my job. Nobody wants to be laid off because of controversy. I understand that. Let's pull together the resources of the congregation as well as the ministers and do it across the counties and the states. Reverend Barber is wonderful, and the Poor People's Campaign. He's one of the outspoken ministers fighting this issue, not only of Christian nationalism, but of poverty in other areas. But he's only one man, and he's stereotyped by too many whites. And he's going to have to speak against it. But you've got problems, and we've got to get some strong white folks supporting this, and we've got to do it with strength to rebut what is tearing apart our Christianity and our Constitution.
Thank you. I'll just say a couple of concrete things that are already existing. One is, so you know, while Reverend Barber does stand strong and long, he doesn't stand alone. There are about 2,000 clergy members who are part of the prophetic council of the Poor People's Campaign, and any clergy in the country are welcome to be part of that. So that is happening. But another thing that's happening that I think is encouraging in terms of Christians organizing is there's, out of the Baptist Joint Committee in DC, there's movement called Christians Against Christian Nationalism, and thousands of clergy have also signed on to that campaign. So there are some organized efforts. We certainly need more, but just to let you know of two, those are two that I know of.
Yeah, there are a few others. There's Vote Common Good, Faithful America, the New Evangelicals. There's a lot of different clergy who are getting very concerned about this. But, you know, it's interesting. I feel like I get several emails a week from clergy around the country who frankly feel isolated and afraid to raise the issue within their congregations because they don't want to divide those congregations. So I think that is an ongoing challenge for a lot of people. What I've seen is that the clergy are standing up, or a number of clergy are standing up, but there's still a kind of focus on messaging, which, as important as it is, it's not the same as seizing control of the levers of power. It's not the same thing as actually, you know, it's not candidate specific. It doesn't often even engage in sort of issue specific voter turnout, although there are some, you know, souls to the polls. There are some, you know, very powerful voter turnout initiatives taking place, and I'm wondering if you're seeing more willingness to engage on those ways.
Most of those things happen through C4 organizations as opposed to the IRS calls churches and other nonprofits, 501c3s. And there are a few more C4s than there were last time around. Vote Common Good that you mentioned is a 501c4. I think we need more of that, frankly, because of the way the political landscape is shaped. People just need more clarity, and there needs to be something to answer the sort of onslaught of what folks are getting. That's not from a party, but it's from an organization that is named, things it's committed to, and then lets you know who's for those things and who's not. So, yeah.